Hey, I did want to hit on something. Just because you mentioned a Republican, it's not quite the same thing, but they did have CPAC, which is like the gift that keeps on giving, right?
Oh, yes.
Right on.
So CPAC, we had a little incident with Michael Steele.
Oh, yeah.
Who, so I'm just going to read this intro here. I cut the piece that I wanted from an article that was titled, Michael Steele spars with CPAC head over official's race comment. What the hell? This was out of The Hill. It says, former Republican National Committee Chairman Michael Steele confronted the chairman of the American Conservative Union on Saturday over comments made by a spokesman for the group at a major conservative conference a day earlier. The row between the former RNC head and Matt Schlapp on Steele's Sirius XM show Steele and Unger came a day after Ian Walters, the communications director for the Conservative Political Action Conference, said that Steele was picked as RNC chairman because, quote, he was a black guy.
Wow.
Quote, those words that tumbled out of his mouth, I believe, were unfortunate words, Schlapp told Steele, who served as RNC chairman from 2009 till 2011. Schlapp said that while Walter's comment was in poor taste, Steele had been critical of the Republican Party under President Trump and had not gotten, quote, universal praise, unquote, from conservatives for his stewardship of the RNC. That promoted a heated response from Steele. Quote, what the hell does my race have to do with any of that at the end of the day? What does the color of my skin have to do with anything you just said? Steele said. And I really loved that point, you know, that when you show a hyper-awareness of something like race or gender, and this comes from, I studied journalism as my first, you know, area of major in college, and one of the things they taught us was you don't bring in irrelevant facts. You don't mention somebody's race, somebody's gender.
Right.
Somebody, if it's not relevant, don't go there.
Yep.
And so when I see people do that, when somebody brings in the issue of someone's race in a situation where you're criticizing them about comments they made about a group and you disagree with them on an ideological position, when you bring in their race, you need to ask yourself, why does race
come into your mind?
Yeah, why is that registering so highly with you in situations where it doesn't matter? And the other thing that was interesting was conservative commenter calls out Trump on sexual harassment allegations at CPAC. And this was this was from The Hill as well, and it says conservative political analyst and commentator Mona Charen was booed at the Conservative Political Action Conference on Saturday after she called out President Trump and conservatives over sexual harassment allegations. Charen was on a panel discussing feminism when she called out hypocrisy in the GOP for its support of Trump despite multiple allegations of sexual harassment and assault against him. Quote, I am disappointed in people on our side for being hypocrites about sexual harassers and abusers of women who are in our party, who are sitting in the White House, who brag about their extramarital affairs, who brag about mistreating women, Charen said, without mentioning the president's name. Quote, and because he happens to have an R after his name, we look the other way. We don't complain, she added. According to the reporters who were at the event, Charen had to be escorted out by security for her own safety after the panel concluded. And I do want to note, I didn't put the clip in here, but she's actually written books critical of feminism.
Right.
So this is a conservative woman. I mean, this is, it might have been a panel talking about feminism, but her position on feminism is she's critical of what she calls, quote, modern feminism. So this is definitely a conservative woman who is not the, you know, hyper-feminist that people fear. And she had to be taken out under escort for her own safety. So CPAC was real interesting this year. Definitely getting bolder on the misogyny and racism.
Another way that we're polarizing, I think. It's terrifying.
Well, I'm gonna keep telling myself there's more of us than them.
It's true.
Yeah.
Until I see different.
Yeah.
Right.